Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mock Draft Guy YouTube channel. I have a very special guest here today for my very, very highly anticipated 3-round mock draft with trades. And JWAC, I think this got a little crazy. We were talking about this before. We've actually been sitting here talking about this for the last hour now. So we're finally going to get into it. But first of all, I want to say thank you for coming on. This is your channel debut, even though we've done a lot of videos together. I shouldn't say channel debut. You've been on the channel about 3 or 4 times, but it's just been your voice. So this is the first time people are actually seeing what you look like on my channel. But thanks for coming on, man. I'm super excited to get this going.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. And like you said, this is long awaited, long overdue. I'm really excited to be here. This one got a little wild for sure.
Yeah, this is, like we said, it's going to be 3 rounds. We have everything pretty much planned out, so this should be one of your quicker 3-round mock drafts that you see. But if we're going to start it right away, we're going to start with the Carolina Panthers. Just for future reference, I will be doing the odd picks. JWAC will be doing the even picks. And I think we could both agree that the first 2 picks are pretty straightforward. For Carolina, I'm not even going to get into it. As of right now, it is Bryce Young, and I think it should have been Bryce Young all along. We got some smoke screens with CJ Stroud there, taking selfies with the front office of the Carolina Panthers, but it seems like it was always going to be Bryce Young.
Yeah, for sure. Bryce Young, obviously the size is going to be the only complaint people really have, but I mean, one of the best throwers of the football. He tested out incredibly well with his cognitive scores, which a lot of people have been paying attention to. I think he's a fantastic prospect, and I think Carolina's getting the best quarterback in this class. At number 2, the Houston Texans. It doesn't look like there's going to be a quarterback anymore. We thought there was going to be a quarterback for so long, and now it looks like they're going to go with a defensive player, which makes sense considering you've got DeMeco Ryans. And it's going to be Will Anderson Jr., one of the best edge prospects, if not the best edge prospect we've had in the last few years. And Will Anderson's dynamic. I think he would be a great piece that DeMeco can build his defense off of.
Yeah, I think we can go back to when DeMeco Ryans was hired. I think we were talking about it, and I said, don't be surprised if the Houston Texans take a defensive player, defensive-minded coach. In my opinion, the defensive talent severely outweighs the offensive talent in this draft. So I was never going to be surprised if they took the best defensive player on the board. Super easy pick there. The first 2, I really feel like this is where the draft starts, and we're going to start this draft with a trade. I think it's pretty apparent at this point apparently I heard something that Tennessee is basically done with Malik Willis at this point. They might move Ryan Tannehill for a later round pick at the draft, actually. I think this is a trade up easily. I think Tennessee trades up to number 3 with Arizona. If you guys know this channel, you know that I really don't get into the draft compensation part of it. It's just really too hard to kind of, come up with it, a fair trade. But this is what I came up with. And also this trade engine, I know JWAC knows this. This trade engine is a little off. So these trades are going to look really wonky, but I'm going to try my best to actually get it to something of the degree where I think that it might work. And this would be a horrible trade, by the way, if this was in real life.
So are we not going to include a 2 or 3 from Tennessee that would go to Arizona for later on in this draft?
No, I don't think, actually, thank you for saying that. I was going to get into it, saying that I think that if you're trading up to get a franchise quarterback, I don't think that they're going to be willing with parting with any of their draft compensation, at least like the early ones. I don't think a 2 or a 3 is going to be in a trade for the number 3 overall pick. I think we're looking at more future compensation than anything. Maybe the 3rd can be included in there, maybe the 5th, but I don't think, especially with the picks that Tennessee has, I don't think that they'd be willing to part with any of this compensation, or maybe 1 pick. So hence why I think maybe hint on future picks. I think Arizona might be in store to trade down again, but I'm going to trade the 3rd for the 11th here, and I'm going to take CJ Stroud. I know that people have been saying, well, the test came out that he scored an 18, and that was like 28 percentage points below like the next lowest guy on the cognitive ability test. Here's the thing. The proof is in the pudding for me. I know that has to do with decision making and all that. We know that he's one of the most accurate and pure passers of the football in this entire draft class. I think that he still is one of the best quarterbacks. Maybe a little bit of a surprise for people being the 2nd quarterback taken off the board, but I'm still confident in CJ Stroud and being a franchise quarterback for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, and I agree. And as a Colts fan, I would absolutely hate if Stroud was taken right underneath our feet. And this is going to pain me to do because as a Colts fan, I want Anthony Richardson. That's the way I want to go with this. But so many reports everywhere that the Colts are going to take Will Levis. And I've been on the Will Levis train, on and off the train so many times. I just want a new quarterback. We're going to take Will Levis here for the Colts, and we're going to follow the rumors here. And I don't think Levis is a bad player. I think he can come in, be the day one starter that Shane Steichen and this offense needs. I really like what he could bring to the Colts. So I'm going to bring him in, hope he can pan out the way that Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, the way Steichen was able to develop those guys, and we're going to get our future quarterback of the franchise in Will Levis.
Yeah, I think that this has been something that's rumored for a couple weeks now, and it just makes sense. Apparently, he's the apple of the Indianapolis Colts' eye. I saw that's a very interesting way to describe it. I saw that today, actually, and I got a good chuckle out of that. Now we're moving on to Seattle. Here's the thing. Jalen Carter's on the board. Tyree Wilson's on the board. Basically, all the best defensive players are left on the board. I can't argue with just how much it makes me want to go Anthony Richardson to number 5 here to the Seattle Seahawks. They obviously like each other. Anthony Richardson has gone on record as saying that he would love to sit behind a bona fide starter and learn for a year. Geno Smith's 3-year, $105 million contract has $51 million and most of the guarantees coming off in the first year. And, to all the Seattle Seahawks fans that might say, oh, well, Pete Carroll's too old to develop a quarterback. Listen, we said it before. Pete Carroll's one of the most energetic coaches in the entire league. I don't think he'd have any problem trying to develop Anthony Richardson. I think that they can't pass up on his athleticism. I know that Geno Smith was a great story. I think that he's going to have another good year. I don't think you could pass up on the long-term upside of Anthony Richardson at number 5. And you're basically playing with house money because this is not even Seattle's pick. So I think that's all the more reason if Anthony Richardson's on the board, they're going to take him.
Yeah, I agree. If he's on the board, I just don't see a world where Seattle passes on him. And we talked about this off camera. It does remind me a lot of the Chiefs when they got Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs traded up to get Patrick Mahomes. They had just given Alex Smith a new contract. They just drafted Patrick Mahomes to sit for a year, learn the offense, and moved Alex Smith to Washington the year after. I see a very similar story here with Seattle and Anthony Richardson, who was tested phenomenally this whole pre-draft process athletically. I think this is a great pick for Seattle. Then we got number 6 with Detroit, and there's so many ways they could go with this. Jalen Carter is still on the board. Tyree Wilson, I've heard rumors that Detroit's really interested in him. They also shipped out Jeff Okudah, so maybe they look to bring in another corner. But Howie Roseman loves to trade up. He loves to make moves. We saw him do it last year for Jordan Davis. I'm going to have him do it again this year, move up to number 6 with the Detroit Lions, and select the other Georgia tackle in Jalen Carter. The compensation here, we can talk about this. What do you think that the compensation would look like for a deal like that?
With the way that Roseman trades, I would say that this is more of a future assets pick. Again, I would say that Saints. I don't know why, by the way. I click on one second round pick and both of them come up. But that Saints second round pick for next year looks really, really promising. I'm going to go with that. And like I said, maybe you throw in a pick for this year, maybe the 6th round or whatever it may be. It's going to be a late round pick. Howie's going to want to keep these picks. They don't have many in terms of a Howie Roseman draft. They don't have many. And this also leaves the door open for him to trade down again at the back end of the first round. So I think it's a future pick compensation because Detroit's not really, I feel like moving back 4 spots, Detroit's not really losing much. I still think they're going to get a premium player at that position, and they acquire future assets. So they have 4 picks inside the first 55 this year. Why not start building that again for next year and just building an incredible roster? I think it would be a really, really good deal. I like that trade a lot.
Yeah, I like it too. I was wondering, obviously, since it is going to be 3 rounds, we're not going to include any 2nd or 3rd this year in that deal. But yeah, Jalen Carter. And I know some people are going to be like, well, the Eagles just drafted Jordan Davis last year. They've got a nice rotation of guys. Well, they do rotate their defensive linemen in and out. Jalen Carter is a pass rusher and Jordan Davis is a run defender. We saw it at Georgia. I'm not too concerned about the fit there. Jalen Carter, there's the off the field issues, but he's phenomenal. And had those off the field issues not come up, I think there's a real chance Jalen Carter is going ahead of Will Anderson in this draft. But Carter here at 6, and the Eagles get a really good player.
Yeah, 100%. And moving on to 7 with the Raiders sitting here, and they just miss out on Jalen Carter. I think that they go best secondary player on the board. And for me, a lot of people think it's Joey Porter Jr. A lot of people think it's Devin Witherspoon. For me, it's going to be Christian Gonzalez. The combine just proved everything that we really knew about Christian Gonzalez. He's an incredible athlete. He's got great size. And this is a secondary for the Raiders that's really missing a true number 1 corner. And, I know that Tyree Wilson's on the board here. They could go with some defensive line help, but they still have Chandler Jones and Max Crosby. I don't really see them with the talent in the secondary on the board. I don't see them going with another defensive lineman. So I'm going to take Christian Gonzalez at 7.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Moving on to Atlanta, and this is a pick I heard. We talked about this a few weeks ago.
I think we were the first. I honestly think we were the first.
And this pick has become a staple in my mocks. I know it's become a staple in yours. Give me Nolan Smith to the Falcons. Yep, perfect scheme fit for the Falcons. Could play that outside linebacker role perfectly. They've made some moves on the interior of their defensive line already. Tyree Wilson, I like Tyree Wilson, but I think Nolan Smith athletically, his speed, I think, just works in Atlanta. And keep the kid in Georgia. I'm going to go with Nolan Smith there.
Yeah, it seems like a pick almost too good to actually happen, but I think there's a legitimate chance that it happens. Moving on to Chicago at number 9, so many different ways that they can go. The real conspirator in me wants to pick Bijan Robinson here for some reason. Tyree Wilson still on the board makes a lot of sense as well, that edge or inside position. But I think that it's time that we go for an offensive tackle. And I've said this stat a bunch of times, and it's still as alarming now as the first time I said it, is that Justin Fields has been sacked 91 times in 679 career dropbacks, which is extremely alarming because for some quarterbacks, 679 dropbacks is a single season. So can you imagine someone like Tom Brady who dropped back a record number of times last year, being sacked 91 times at 400 years old? That's a terrible way to go. So we had some deliberation about this between Darnell Wright and Broderick Jones. I like Darnell Wright here, actually. I think you kind of talked me into it. Darnell Wright, super versatile on that offensive line. 6'6", 337 pounds. He believes that he's the best tackle in the class. A lot of other people think he's the best tackle in the class. And I think that straight up versatility on the offensive line is really appealing because he could start at left tackle for the Bears. He could start at right tackle for the Bears. There's really, they could really go either way. So I think having that type of versatility makes a lot of sense here. I don't really think you can go wrong with either Broderick Jones or Darnell Wright or Paris Johnson for that matter. Just might be a matter of preference and who they have higher on their board. I think it's going to be Darnell Wright.
Yeah, I love Darnell Wright. I know you and Alex from Hail Mary Sports were talking about him. I did a little bit more. Went a little deeper into Darnell Wright stuff, and Darnell Wright's fantastic. And they had the left tackle. He was pretty good last year, Braxton Jones. Right tackle was not good. Darnell Wright's far and away the best right tackle in this class, in my opinion. So that deal makes a lot of sense for me. The Lions kind of get a perfect scenario here with what they could do. And, man, Tyree Wilson still sitting here makes a lot of sense because I've heard there's the rumors there Detroit wants to go with edge. They've done their research on the D-line guys. But after the Jeff Okudah trade, I just can't justify not bringing in secondary. Yes, you brought in Emmanuel Mosley. He's on a short-term deal. You brought in C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He's also on a short-term deal. A lot of the guys they brought in are on short-term deals. They need to make a move. Cam Sutton, that's the other name. He's on a short-term deal. You got to go get some help. And Devon Witherspoon is a fantastic player. He tested out incredibly well at his pro day, better than I think a lot of people were expecting. Good size. He's so physical and a great underdog story that I think Dan Campbell would just absolutely love to have on his team. So we're going to take Devon Witherspoon here to the Lions.
And a ferocious hitter for his size, too, which is something that Dan Campbell would absolutely love. Not going to overthink this pick. The Arizona Cardinals are winning the draft so far. They move down 8 spots. They pick up future compensation, and they still get one of the top edge players on the board. Tyree Wilson, fit is a massive need for Arizona, who is now switching over to a 4-3, which makes it even more of a need for them. So I'm going Tyree Wilson here at pick number 11.
And honestly, if they don't trade back, I would have taken Tyree Wilson at 3 just based on how the board fell. So incredible value for the Cardinals to move back. There's going to be another trade here. The Texans, this pick I just don't like making, especially after they go with edge first. It's just hard to find something. And we've heard the Steelers rumored to move up. There's been the Bears rumors. They move up from 17 to 9. I think they're going to move up to 12 with the Houston Texans. So they are going to move up just 5 spots. What do you think? Compensation. Do we throw the 80th pick in here?
No, it's probably going to have to be the 49th pick, I would think.
All right.
I mean,
we can do
the only reason why I'll throw it in there is because that's what it's, of course, this is not enough, but that's what it's rumored to be. So, if they were going to move up, it's going to be 49. I think in reality, if Pittsburgh does move up to number 9 with the Bears, I think the Bears are going to want their initial 32nd pick back. I think that 49 to move up 8 spots isn't going to be enough. So it's going to be interesting to see what the compensation looks like. But I think this is pretty justified. You're moving up to still get a premium player 5 spots up. I think a kind of sort of later for a second round pick is justifiable in this trade.
Yeah, and make the move. The Steelers have some needs. They've got a lot of them. But I think they're going to go with a corner. I mean, they brought in Patrick Peterson. He's not really moving the needle for me. Joey Porter there's the story there. His dad played for the Steelers. It just is kind of the perfect storm. He's a fantastic athlete, long arms, super physical. I think he just fits what the Steelers want to do. They love big corners. That's what this team is built on. And I think it makes a lot of sense here. Steelers go Joey Porter Jr.
Yeah, and for those people that think that they could stay at 17 and take an offensive lineman, that might be true. But if there are rumors that they're going to move up to number 9 if Jalen Carter falls, I mean, obviously it's not out of the cards for them to trade up and get a skill position player at the cornerback position. So, if they're willing to trade up for a defensive lineman, where arguably defensive lineman is their biggest strength, then it's certainly possible that they move up to get one of the best cornerbacks on the board, because I'll be honest with you, this cornerback class is really, really good. But once you get past like the Deonte Banks in the first round and stuff, there's a real interesting period between maybe pick 25 and 45, where I don't really know if I'm considering taking a cornerback at that point. So I definitely think that a team trading up for a cornerback is certainly in the cards. 13, my New York Jets. As much as I want to go Brian Branch, it just doesn't make any sense at this point. We pretty much know that Aaron Rodgers to the Jets is a done deal. You got to protect him. He's 39 years old, and the Jets arguably right now have the worst offensive line depth in the league. So I'm going Paris Johnson Jr.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to explain that too much. A lot of people's offensive tackle, number 1. Paris Johnson's a beast. Makes a lot of sense there. At number 14, this is an interesting spot for the New England Patriots, because I think there's a lot of ways they could go with this one. You could go with the tackle, because they didn't bring back Isaiah Wynn. The right spot of their line is pretty weak. You could bring in receiver. I think they're Zay Flowers, there's been the rumors there. We even heard Bijan Robinson rumors to the Patriots. But I think their secondary is where I'm going to go here, and that's going to be Deonte Banks out of Maryland. Another guy, really good man coverage corner. He's great, like I said, man coverage, good size. I think he kind of fits what they need. They need another boundary corner, and I think Deonte Banks is the perfect guy here.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. This is a very Bill Belichick-esque pick as well. I could easily see this being an offensive lineman with Peter Skoronski on the board, but like you said, they do need tackle depth in anything. Tackle, not tackle depth, but Deonte Banks, you can't go wrong. I mean, especially with the weapons and the offensive firepower of the AFC East, it just makes sense to take a cornerback as physical as Deonte Banks. And we're moving on to Green Bay at pick number 15. I know that Green Bay Packers fans don't like it, but I think it's got to be a receiver. And I know we've been saying that Green Bay should draft a receiver in the first round for the past 5 years now. But I think this is the year that's going to happen. This is a new era. This is the Jordan Love era. Could they use offensive line help? Sure. Could they use an edge rusher? Sure. Could this be a tight end? Sure. But if Jackson Smith-Njigba is on the board, I think you got to go and get him. I mean, probably the best wide receiver in the class. He's still here at 15. Wide receiver is a massive need. I don't really have to explain too much more than that.
Can I interest you in Keion White?
At 15?
There's so many rumors that the Packers are in love with Keion White and that he might be going in the first round there.
I would be,
because he got a draft invite. It would be a horrible pick, I think.
I wouldn't say horrible. I'd be thoroughly disappointed in the Green Bay Packers if they picked Keion White there, because they could probably get Keion White with the Jets pick at 42.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
So you can't interest me in Keion White at 15.
For the Washington Commanders, they're now in a weird spot because they want to probably go with a corner. None of the corners are really left on the board. So what do? The next need for them is a guard. Their guard spot's not great. They made some moves on the offensive line I like. Brought in Andrew Wiley. They brought in Nick Gates. I guess they're going to move Cosmi back over to guard. There's still another hole at the other guard position. Peter Skoronski is going to be a guard at the next level. The short arms make it pretty much, I think he's going to translate better to a guard at the next level. And he's the best offensive lineman in this entire class, in my opinion. He's an absolute monster. And you get him here at 16. That's going to be the pick for me, Peter Skoronski. Great value for him here at 16. Can play, slide into that guard spot right away. And I think it makes a lot of sense.
He's a monster with tiny arms.
Yeah, he's a T-Rex.
At number 17 here, this is the trade down pick with the Pittsburgh Steelers for the Houston Texans. And I think, say what you will about Quentin Johnson, I still think he is probably one of the two top receivers in this entire class. I think he fits in perfectly here at pick number 17. You automatically get a number one type of wide receiver, and they traded away Brandon Cooks. They replaced Brandon Cooks essentially with Robert Woods. So if you draft Quentin Johnson, you got Johnston and Nico Collins on the outside. You got Robert Woods and John Mechie as well. And right away, you got a pretty decent wide receiving core right there with those four. So I'm going to take Quentin Johnson at number 17.
Yeah, I could even see this being Hendon Hooker. I wouldn't be surprised by that, but they need
I would be shocked if that was Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm very curious where Hooker's going to go in this mock.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to number 18, they didn't go edge in the first with their first pick, which they traded back for. I think they're probably going to look edge here, and there's some good edge prospects left. Lucas Van Ness, Myles Murphy, Will McDonald down the board. I think that's a little high for him, but I really like Myles Murphy here. Now, the Lions were super enamored with the upside of Travon Walker last year. If he had fallen to 2, there was a lot of talk that they were going to take Travon Walker. Myles Murphy had almost identical testing to what Travon Walker did. He's an athletic freak. He had a bit of a down 2022, but his 2021 tape is phenomenal. Pair him on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson. You've got a very formidable pass rush duo for years to come. I think it's a great pick for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I think that Myles Murphy kind of slid a little bit down the board unfairly, because this is someone that probably has potential top 5 talent in this class. Like you said, he's tremendously strong. He's a tremendous athlete for his size. I think that getting in these one-on-one situations with having Aiden Hutchinson on the other side of him, that's a scary duo in the NFC North right there. I love that pick. And I think if you can get away from the first round, if you're the Detroit Lions with Myles Murphy and Devin Witherspoon, man, that is a nice haul right there. And you still have 2 picks in the second round. The future's looking real bright in Detroit. Even if this is not what happens, the future's looking real bright in Detroit.
I do think Broshmo's been on this the entire time, but if Quentin Johnston's on the board at 18...
Yeah, no, especially with I agree 100%. Yeah. That was my pick. If it didn't make so much sense at number 17 with Quentin Johnston, it was going to be at number 18. That's a no-brainer because they're losing wide receiver depth like crazy. Yeah. So moving on to 19, Tampa Bay. I like Lucas Van Ness. This is an interesting prospect here. But offensive line it was atrocious last year with a bunch of injuries. Donovan Smith is now gone. You need another battery mate. for Tristan Wirfs. Broderick Jones is on the board in like 400 plus pass blocking snaps last year. He didn't allow a single sack. I don't even think he allowed a single pressure. He's a tremendous offensive lineman, and this was my original pick for the first offensive lineman off the board. But if he's here at 19, I mean, you can't argue with that value.
Yeah, not at all. Great pick there for the Buccaneers. At 20, Seattle took Anthony Richardson first, and now I think they got to go with the pass rusher here. And there's not too many I'm in love with, but I just love the upside of Lucas Van Ness. He's super raw. I understand that, but I think he fits really nicely in Seattle. He's young, he's raw, he's powerful, he's got incredible power off the line. And I think he could be a really solid player for Pete Carroll on this defensive line. So I'm going to take Lucas Van Ness here at 20.
Yeah, I think with what they have on the defensive line and at the edge department, I don't think you're going to be asking too much of Lucas Van Ness in his first year, especially with getting Draymond Jones as well. That's a huge lift off the shoulders there. I think that they won't ask him to do too much. He could step right in there and be a situational pass rusher and really, really thrive in that role. Kind of like what LJ Collier was supposed to be for them, but turned out to not be. So I think that's what Lucas Van Ness could be for them. I like that pick a lot. It's something that you don't really think about, Lucas Van Ness to Seattle. 21 here, interesting scenario. There's a lot of players that I like on the board here. I like Michael Mayer. I like Kalijah Kancey. Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison makes a lot of sense. But look, I'm going to go Bijan Robinson, and I don't really care if you like it or not. But I really think, and you put it in my head, honestly, so kudos to you. I really think a trade by Cincinnati for Austin Eckler could really be in the cards. I really do think that that's a possibility. That just makes so much sense on so many levels. And replacing Austin Eckler would be
Joe Mixon new now. Like, it's kind of out there.
Yeah, it just makes too much sense for me. So I don't think that the trade gets done before the draft or during the draft. I think once they take Bijan Robinson, we kind of know what the future for Austin Eckler holds. So I'm taking possibly the best offensive player in the entire draft at number 21 in Bijan Robinson.
Yeah. I wouldn't even say probably the best. I think he is the best. I love Bijan. He's incredible and fantastic. Even if you keep Eckler, we know running backs don't last all that long.
I don't think there's any situation where they keep Eckler and they have Bijan. That's just a waste. Then that's just a waste at that point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you'd bet on the upside. We'll see what ends up happening there. At 22, I guess I'm going to make another trade here. Baltimore's in a
full transparency. Full transparency. This is me forcing J-Wack to make this trade.
Yeah. And I don't hate the idea, but Kansas City has talked. They lost Andrew Wiley in free agency. They lost Orlando Brown in free agency. Kansas City needs some more protection on the right side for Patrick Mahomes. Kansas City loves to pass the football too, and the best pass rushing tackle is still out there in Anton Harrison. I don't think he's going to make it to you at 31. So are we giving up a third rounder in this?
Yeah, I'm going to give up a third rounder. I think that's fair. Pick number 95 to move up. I think that's if I could do math correctly, that's 9 spots. I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kansas City moves up to take Anton Harrison. I think Jacksonville might take him. I think Dallas would consider him. Buffalo, Cincinnati. He's not going to be there for you at 31. Trade up and get your guy. Protect Patrick Mahomes at all costs. And, you got your tackle of the future.
Yeah, and another thing, again, I don't really get into the draft compensation, so if you guys don't like it, I really don't know what to tell you. So, moving on to number 23, you got the Minnesota Vikings here. I really like Brian Branch at this spot. I really do. I like Jordan Addison as well. Imagine having Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and KJ Osborne as your 3 wide receivers. Here's the thing. I think that they still have to add. I mean, they had a historically bad defense last year. Yeah. I think they need to add as many pieces as they can to really retool that defense. There's not really a cornerback here that I like that would fit in Minnesota. The only one I'm thinking about is Kelee Ringo, and the only reason why is because he'll probably convert to a safety at some point in his career, and that is a need for the Minnesota Vikings. I really like Kalijah Kancey here. I think adding to the defensive line Makes a lot of sense. Yes, they brought in Marcus Davenport. Yes, they brought in Dean Lowry. Are those moves that really move the needle? Not for me. I don't know about you, but that doesn't really move the needle for me. If Kalijah Kancey's on the board, this is a disruptive force in the middle of a 3-4 defense. I'm absolutely taking him here at number 23.
Talk about a monster with tiny arms. Kalijah Kancey. Yeah, he's fantastic, and I definitely love this pick. I made this a few weeks ago in one of my mocks, and I think it makes a lot of sense for them to address the interior of their defensive line. This has probably been the same pick for the last 3 months, and it's Brian Branch with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I feel like we don't even have to talk about it at this point. We've talked about it so many times. They need a nickel corner. I think that's what Brian Branch is going to end up sliding over. Even if he does stay at safety, like, they need safety help. He's a versatile back, and that's exactly what Jacksonville needs. So I could overthink this one.
Yeah, perfect chess piece to move around that defense. Like you said, if they want to play 3 safeties, Brian Branch could slide back. If they want him in the nickel, he could play there too. Fantastic player. I love that. And it really pains me to see him go anywhere else other than New York. It really does. But you got the Giants here at pick number 25. I know offensive line is a huge need for them, especially in the interior. You have your bookend tackles for the next decade, most likely. Interior is horrendous. But you still need another wide receiver. Don't get me wrong, trading for Darren Waller was cool. Signing Paris Campbell was great too. Low cost, potentially high reward type of deal. You still need that number 1 guy. And I think, I don't know if he really is a number 1 guy, but I feel like he tests out the best out of the receivers left on the board. And it's Zay Flowers for me. I kind of like this a lot. I know that people are going to say, oh, well, if he plays in the slot, the Giants already have Wan'Dale Robinson. That's true. Wan'Dale Robinson's also coming off of a catastrophic injury as well. So I don't know, but Zay Flowers is the type of guy, he can play on the outside as well. It's going to be interesting to see how he's used. He seems like a real replacement for Kadarius Toney. It seems like Zay Flowers is going to be what Kadarius Toney should have been in New York. I'm going to take him here at number 25.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Zay Flowers is electric. He's quick. Makes a lot of sense. They need some more elusiveness. The Cowboys, every time I have to pick for the Cowboys, I say this. It's my least favorite pick to make. What the heck did the Cowboys do?
It's treachery. It is.
But they finally gave us a hint on what they wanted to do. Make this a little bit easier. Apparently, there were some reports going out. If Michael Mayer's on the board, that's who they're going to take. They lost Dalton Schultz. Jake Ferguson was fine last year. I don't know if he's tight end 1. Michael Mayer is arguably the best tight end in this class, and he definitely would have been last year. I'm going to take Michael Mayer here. Decent blocker, good receiver. I like what he could provide for Dallas. Another weapon in that offense.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think I said in my player profile that he is someone that doesn't do anything elite, but he does everything very well. So I think that's good enough to suffice, if you ask me. Pick number 27 here. A lot of ways Buffalo can go. I think Josh Allen's elusiveness kind of shades away from the fact that their offensive line isn't as good as people think it is. Be that as it may, the middle of their defense, really, after Tremaine Edmonds is gone, it's Matt Milano, and that's it. They really need to upgrade the middle of their defense. And there's one linebacker. I said it a couple weeks ago when I was live on College Sportscast. I said there's one linebacker right now that I think is worth a first-round pick, and it's probably not who you think it is. And for me, that's Jack Campbell. I think that he is, first off, one of the smartest players in college football. He's one of the smartest linebackers out there. If you watch his tape, he's consistently baiting the quarterback into throwing the ball his way. It's hilarious to see the quarterback throw the ball right to the linebacker, and you're like, how did that happen? Watch it in slow motion. Watch him bait the quarterback almost every time. Super productive, tremendous size, tremendous athletic ability as well. I think he would be a monster in the middle of that Buffalo defense.
Yeah, and he tested a lot better at the combine than people were expecting. Yeah, Jack Campbell, I like that pick. I think he's definitely opened some eyes, and I think most people have him as linebacker 1 at this point. But moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals, another team I don't love picking for. I could really see them going Jahmyr Gibbs. We talked about the Joe Mixon news. If 2 running backs go in the first round, I think that would shock everyone. I'm not going to do it. Offensive tackle, Jonah Williams, they're trying to look to move. I don't know what the status is with Lyle Collins, if and when he's going to come back.
He's not going to be back for the beginning of the season, that's for sure.
Yeah. Maybe they wanted to go with a developmental guy in DeJuan Jones, but I know they brought in Irv Smith. Irv Smith is fine, but Dalton Kincaid is he's my favorite tight end in this class. His receiving ability, he's like another receiver out there for you. Just get Joe Burrow more weapons. He was cleared. I think he had a back injury. He's been cleared from that. I think he's good. Kincaid's electric, and I think he would be awesome for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Probably the easiest pick to make in terms of if you look at the board and you look at the needs and you go, oh, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of Cincinnati Bengals fans probably aren't going to like that, but I love that pick as well. I'm totally with you on that one. Moving on to 29, probably one of my least favorite prospects in the entire class is Bryan Bresee, but he's the best player left on the board for a massive need for the New Orleans Saints. I'll paint a picture for you like this. As of right now, the starting 2 defensive tackles for the New Orleans Saints is Nathan Shepard and Keely Saunders. That's all you need to hear. I will take Bryan Bresee over those 2 guys. I was thinking Mazi Smith as well. A lot of guys that I like here on the defensive line. I was thinking Tuli Peloto too, as well. That would be certain.
At the next level.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably a 3-4 edge at the next level because he's like 290 pounds. So he's not really big enough to be a 4-3 defensive tackle, but he's not really small enough to be an edge. It's very, very interesting. But Bryan Bresee is the best player left on a massive position of need, so I'm going to take him.
I like Bryan Bresee. Well, I like the pick for Bryan Bresee. I'm not a huge Bryan Bresee guy either. I like Adi Tamiwa Adebawore here. I think his versatility would be very nice for the Saints, but not going to complain by that pick whatsoever. We're going to have another trade here because why not? The Steelers they brought in Allen Robinson, but it kind of looks like Deontay Johnson. We talked about this before we got on. It looks like Deontay Johnson could be moved. There were some rumors last year that there could be some sort of a trade. We're going to have the Steelers trade back up into the first round with the other team in Pennsylvania, and they'll trade back or up 2 spots. What do they give up? A 4th, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, it's not going to be anything crazy. Probably a 4th. Probably not the one that they got back. It's probably going to be like number 120 or something. It shouldn't be much. Like I said, I don't really worry about the compensation.
And they will trade up and select Jordan Addison. Keep that. There was that Kenny Pickett, Jordan Addison connection, which Steelers fans are absolutely in love with that idea. And I mean, Addison hasn't had the greatest pre-draft process whatsoever, but he was definitely one of the best receivers in college football last year. He's electric, smooth route runner. I think he kind of complements George Pickens perfectly. So I'm going to take Jordan Addison here at 30.
I love it. I really do. That's chaotic, and that's what we're all about over here. Baltimore at pick number 31. Baltimore's feeling a little bit more confident. They got a little bit more draft compensation. I really think a trade down for Baltimore from 22 is really a real possibility. 5 picks is not going to be enough for them. They do love to draft. So at number 31 here, the Baltimore Ravens love to take athletic developmental type of players. And there's someone that's on the board that isn't athletic. He's gifted from the gods athletically. And he fills a massive position of need. Because if you look at the defensive line for the Baltimore Ravens, woof, it is not nice. It's really not nice. And as you just mentioned before, it's Adetomiwa Adebawore for me. 6'2", 282 pounds, ran a 4.43 or like a 4.48 or something. It's something unbelievable. Extremely strong as well. You look at his numbers and you say, wow, 12.5 sacks at the collegiate level in his career. Not impressive at all. Let me take you back a few years ago to when the Baltimore Ravens took a athletically gifted piece that didn't have a single sack in his entire collegiate career, and that's Odafe Oweh. So it's clear that they do love to experiment with these athletic freaks at positions of need, and I think that he'd be really good. He'd be a massive upgrade in the interior of the defensive line. I like this pick a lot. This is something that a lot of people don't think about, but it certainly seems like a Baltimore Ravens type of pick.
I did a mock without them trading up. I took Adetomiwa at 22. I know this is one of Bro Schmo's my guys. He's fantastic. If you haven't looked into any of the tape, I recommend. Adebawore is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But at 32, the Eagles trade back. This is technically a second round pick. But they are going to select a guard. They have after Siamalu left, they've got a weakness at guard. O'Cyrus Torrence still being on the board is really good value for the Eagles. So we're going to take O'Cyrus Torrence here over the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, this is, again, this was kind of more of a me pick. This seems like a classic Howie Roseman surplus pick. Kind of seems like a Cam Jurgens from last year. The past few years, the Philadelphia Eagles in the second round have taken Landon Dickerson, they've taken Cam Jurgens, and they're going to take O'Cyrus Torrence again. Howie Roseman lives and dies by the fact that the game is won in the trenches, and he fortifies, because, O'Cyrus Torrence is big enough to potentially even be a tackle at the next level. We're talking about 6'5", 345 pounds, a gifted athlete at that as well. So you never know what he could have in store for O'Cyrus Torrence. I like this pick a lot. Moving on to Houston. What do you do here at 33? Are they in the position to take best player available? I don't really know. I'm not going to lie. I haven't given this pick too much thought, but the interior of the defensive line for them is bad. They were giving up, for a while last year, they were giving up a historic amount of rushing yards. And it was all thanks to the interior of their defensive line. Now, I know we went with an edge rusher in the last pick, while they still have Jonathan Grenard. I think it's Jonathan Grenard and Jerry Hughes they still have as well. So I'm looking for the defensive line here. And I really think that Mazi Smith makes a lot of sense here. You want to talk about a run stuffer? This is a space eater. 6'3", 337 pounds. That's someone that'll definitely stop the run. I know it's not the sexiest pick, but it surely seems like a pick that a year one head coach, defensive-minded, would make. I'm going to take Mazi Smith here, actually, at 33.
Yeah, that's the pick I've been making. That's one of my favorite picks, actually. I love Mazi Smith to the Texans, but hate it as a Colts fan that runs the ball a lot. For the Arizona Cardinals, we talked about this a little bit off camera. Do you want to explore that trade we talked about?
Yeah, I think that we're at the point of chaos where we should just keep diving into it.
Yeah. So we're going to have Washington trade up here.
Yeah.
Washington is sitting at 48, I believe.
47, I think.
47, yes. Arizona's going to trade back again, acquire more draft capital. Are they going to give up the 3 here? They're not going to give up 97, right?
I'm going to do that, yeah. Like I said, you keep mentioning it. We don't care about draft capital here.
Yeah. We'll just get this deal to go down.
Yeah.
All right. I gave up a 4 and a 5. Doesn't matter. We won't see it here. They got Sam Howell. They brought in Jacoby Brissett. Okay. Take a swing here if you're Ron Rivera, who's probably on the hot seat. They brought in Eric Bieniemy, who now can get a quarterback to develop, even though he's 26.
He's going to be 20. When he's fully healthy and ready to play, he will be 26 years old.
Yeah. But I still think he's worth a swing here. I'm going to take Hendon Hooker here. There's a lot. I saw him go in the top 10 of a recent mock.
Oh my
I saw
God.
him go in the top 15. He's everywhere. If you get him here at 33? 34? I don't know. I think I would make that pick there.
Fair enough. I like it a lot. At number 35, this is your Indianapolis Colts, so I would love to see what your reaction to this pick is. I think offensive line is in the cards here. I think you need to address the offensive line, especially after getting Will Levis. I would love to look at wide receiver here as well, but I think offensive line is just key. I mean, we don't want to go down a Andrew Luck road here with a brand new franchise quarterback. Right, so if Rod Jones is still on the board at pick number 35, that's who I'm taking.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Bernard Ryman was better towards the second half of last season, so I'll give him that. I like Steve Avila at this pick quite a bit, actually. That's one of my favorites. And then corner, I've taken Tyreek Stevenson here a few times. DeJuan Jones, haven't experimented with that one, but I do like that pick. I think he could play in that right guard spot since Glowinski left, and that is a massive hole on the Colts offensive line. So I like DeJuan Jones there. At 36, the LA Rams, their first pick of the day. It's got to be an edge rusher. I'm between two guys. and it's between Will McDonald and BJ Ojolari. I know you took BJ Ojolari in your Rams mock draft. I'm going to take Will McDonald. I just really like his fit in this defense. I like what he could be able to bring, and he's an athletic freak. He's fast, and he's got a good array of pass rush moves that I do like. So I'm going to take Will McDonald here to the Rams.
I like it. I like it a lot. We're getting a little chaotic here. It's Seattle at pick number 37. I feel like this has to be a wide receiver here. I feel like this has to be it might be a surprise pick. I feel like this has to be sort of a long-term Tyler Lockett replacement. And why wouldn't you add some more speed to the wide receiving core? I'm going to go Jalen Hyatt here at pick number 37.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Then we got the Las Vegas Raiders. Talk about another. I just don't like this spot for them because it's a weird spot. DeJuan Jones is off the board. I think it's too early for Matthew Bergeron to go. But with the value on tackles, I think it could be really in the cards here. I'm going to go with an interior defensive lineman because the interior of their defensive line, not very good. I'm going to take Keanu Benton out of Wisconsin, a guy who I think has really good upside. They need some help in the interior of their defensive line desperately. I think Benson's going to go higher than people think. I'm going to take him here to the Raiders at 38.
Yeah, 100%. I like that pick a lot. I thought you were going to go with Thule for a second, but I really, really like that here. Pick number 39, I'm really feeling like a nice weapon here for Bryce Young. Jahmyr Gibbs is sticking out to me, and I really don't hate that at all. But with Darnell Wright still on the board, I mean, I got to take him. You're talking about going from the smallest quarterback on the board to the biggest tight end on the board. 6'7", 260 pounds, runs in the 4.6s, a top 5 blocker per PFF last year in the FBS as well. You can't argue what he would bring to this Carolina Panthers offense. I'm taking Darnell Wright at pick number 39.
Washington. You said right twice.
Damn it, I said it again?
Yeah. No, I like that pick. I question if they would make it because they did bring in Hayden Hurst. They still have Tommy Trimble. I'm not too worried about
they got Tommy Tremble and Ian Thomas too, but what Darnell Wright could bring, those three guys can't. So
for sure, I like the value quite a bit. Let's see here. At number 40 for the New Orleans Saints, I need a wide receiver here. I'm going to take Josh Downs. I'm not going to overthink it. I think Downs' speed complements Olave and Thomas really, really well. You could play him in the slot. I think you get another weapon for Derek Carr. I'm going to take Josh Downs here.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's a really nice pick right there. Michael Thomas and Chris Olave on the outside. You get Josh Downs in the middle. That's nice right there. This is probably where I'm going to. I mean, this might be an overdraft for the position here, but I don't know. I'm torn here because obviously tackle is a big need. I think interior offensive line is a big need. I mean, we have some great interior offensive linemen here. I mean, we got John Michael Schmitz sitting here, Steve Avila, Cody Mock, Joe Tippmann. I mean, there are some really, really nice players here. But Matt Bergeron still sitting here. Conflicting cases on Bergeron. A lot of people think that he could be, a fringe first rounder. A lot of people think that he's a third rounder. I don't really know which way you go. Now that I'm thinking about it, honestly, Ben Jones probably isn't coming back to Tennessee. I'm going to go with John Michael Schmitz here.
I saw John Michael Schmitz on the board. I'm like, that's fantastic pick for Tennessee.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And once again, it pains me because I want John Michael Schmitz on the Jets, but I just can't justify not making that pick.
Yeah, so this number 42 pick is going to Green Bay.
Yeah.
This will be I'm just going to throw a bunch of later picks at them, and we'll get this deal to go through one way.
And you keep talking about it. Don't worry about the draft capital, my dude.
So after plenty of trial and error, we could not figure out how to get this trade to go through on the trade engine. So pick 42 is Green Bay's pick. This is going to Green Bay.
Yeah.
Great. Don't worry about it. We talked about it earlier. I'm going to take Keon White here. The rumors are Green Bay really likes him. He's a raw edge prospect. I think he kind of fits what they want to do, especially after losing Dean Lowry. You could use a replacement. He's a little bit older, but I don't know. I like Keon White here. I'm going to go with what the rumors are saying.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, for a position of need, I like it. And this is also an incredible athlete. Also coming off of a 7th sack season at Georgia Tech. So I like the production there. This is, I think, that they would be able to make here at pick number 43. If Joe Tippmann is still on the board, center is a massive need. And I know I already picked a offensive tackle, but it's just that bad. And you're, like I said, you're getting a 39-year-old offensive lineman. Jesus, I'm getting everything wrong today. You're getting a 39-year-old quarterback. You need offensive linemen. And Joe Tippmann could make a case as the best center in the entire draft class. I'm going to take Joe Tippmann.
I like that. I like that a lot. Moving on to the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, this board kind of fell perfectly for Atlanta because even though they brought in Jeff Okudah, they cut Casey Hayward today. Didn't have an amazing season, but he's undersized, I know, but I know you love Emmanuel Forbes. And I'm going to take him here to the Atlanta Falcons. I think it's a great fit for him.
Yeah, I like that a lot. He could play. I mean, he's super small. The one thing against him, probably why he fell so far, is because he weighed in at the combine at 166 pounds. So obviously not ideal size for an NFL cornerback. But if he's fast enough to play in the nickel, I mean, he would be superb in that role. I think he'd be one of the best nickel cornerbacks in the entire NFL. I like that pick a lot. Green Bay at pick number 45, as you know, it's Jackson Smith-Njigba and then Keion White. So I'm going to go to the tight end position here, and I'm going to take Luke Musgrave at pick number 45. I think this is a really, really big need. Josiah Diaguara is cool. He's not a starting tight end in the NFL. Luke Musgrave has some of the greatest upside of any tight end in this class. It really is a super loaded draft class. I'm going with Luke Musgrave here.
Yeah, I like the idea of Sidney Brown there too, but Luke Musgrave is a great pick for the Green Bay Packers. The New England Patriots here, they took Deonte Banks earlier. Kind of the way the board fell, I'm going to take Matthew Bergeron here at 46.
Yeah, I like that.
Based on the right tackle, they need some tackle depth. I think Bergeron makes sense here.
Yeah, and let me preface this by saying, who would be better than the Arizona Cardinals in this situation? Look at how the board is falling for them. They get Tyree Wilson, they trade back a couple times, and now they can get Kelee Ringo here at pick number 47. Now, you might have your qualms about Kelee Ringo. You can't deny that 6'2", 210 pounds with sub 4.4 speed means something in the NFL, and they desperately need help in the secondary. And that's Kelee Ringo for me.
And even, we talked about this, even if he does move to safety, if they're trying to trade Budda Baker or Budda Baker wants to be traded, there you go. You got a Budda Baker replacement if worse comes to worse. Kelee Ringo's fantastic. I love that pick for the Arizona Cardinals. Then we've got the Detroit Lions. Man, tough pick here.
I don't think so.
What are you thinking? Talk to me through your thinking.
I mean, look at the linebackers that are on the board.
Yeah, you're right. I think Drew Sanders is the right pick here. I think he fits. Alex Anzalone is the definition of mid. And there you go. Get Drew Sanders, who prior to the combine was my OB1. I like Drew Sanders. I like what he would be able to bring. Good pass rusher as well. Give me Drew Sanders.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That makes a lot of sense here. And at pick number 49, the way that the board is falling, I mean, you know, you got Will Anderson, you got Quentin Johnson, Mazi Smith. I'm going to make another defensive pick here. I'm going to take Cam Smith if he's on the board. I mean, you kind of can't argue with the way that it's falling. I don't really think cornerback is a massive need, but at the same time, with guys like Desmond King on the roster and all that, once those contracts clear, you got Derek Stingley Jr. and then Cam Smith on the outside. That's a tremendous young duo right there.
Yeah, Cam Smith he's one of my favorite corner prospects in this class. It pains me to see him fall, but I love Cam Smith.
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers here at 50. Ooh, decisions. I think corners heavily in play here. Julius Brent, Tyreek Stevenson are the two names I'm really looking at. Tyreek Stevenson provides size. Well, Julius Brent will provide the size. He's tested phenomenally. Not too great in man coverage. Tyreek Stevenson, fantastic in man coverage. I think I'm going to take Tyreek Stevenson here to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Okay, I like that a lot. Nice outside cornerback, 6'2", 200 pounds. Good speed as well. Can't argue with that. And you get the two biggest needs off the board right away. Love that. I mean, this should pretty much be a no-brainer for who's on the board. I mean, if Jahmyr Gibbs is on the board at pick number 51, There should be no argument here on who's the pick. I know that they
I like
didn't.
Avila here.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I know that they re-signed. They re-signed both Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, correct?
Yep.
I'm right in saying that. Yeah. A weird part of me likes Felix Anudike-Uzomah here. I like Trenton Simpson, but yeah, Avila makes a lot of sense here too. They do need some interior offensive line help. Yeah, all right, I'll go Avila. You talked me into it. I like Sam Laporta here too.
Yeah.
But
those are the two that came to mind first.
But they gotta protect Tua. So yeah, you're right. Steve Avila at pick number 51.
Or Brady. You never know. Moving on to Seattle.
I think I might stop watching football for a year if that's the case.
Oh, I'd be so pissed. Moving on to Seattle. I think they would have taken Avila here if he was on the board. I'm gonna go.
I know who this pick would be so bad right now.
Who are you thinking?
No, I want you to go ahead. I'm not gonna say nothing.
I think Julius Brent's here.
Okay.
I think Julius Brent. I think that they took corner high last year. You could still use some more help in that secondary. Julius Brent, high upside, really good in zone, fantastic size as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I absolutely love it for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, if that was me, I would have taken Cody Mock, but I like that pick a lot too.
Yeah.
53, I'm going BJ Ojulari here at this pick.
Yeah.
I think if you can get Darnell Wright and you can get a edge rusher. I said it the right time this time.
You did.
I didn't say Darnell Washington. It's a toss-up here for me between Anudike-Uzomah and BJ Ojulari, but it really comes down to they're kind of sort of the same size. I think Ojulari fits kind of better as a 4-3 edge. He's amazing at setting the edge and run defending as well. I think Ojulari should be the pick here at 53.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Moving on to, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Screw it. Take Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs. Just do it.
No, I'm looking at I hate saying the last name, but I'm looking at Tully from USC. I think that's where I'm going to go here.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's going to be my pick.
Yeah, that's a nice pick right there. All right, I'm good with that. Detroit here, 55. This is where the buck stops. I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs at 55 if I'm the Detroit Lions. Yeah,
I love it.
I
love it.
Yeah, I gotta take him. I know Trenton Simpson is here, but we just took Drew Sanders. I'm not taking another linebacker. Isaiah Foskey, and we've taken all these guys already. And it pains me to see my boy Felix fall this far, but Jahmyr Gibbs is the pick, man.
Yeah, I don't think Felix is going to fall much farther for me than this. I think I'm going to take Felix to Jacksonville. They've looked into the edge rush department a little bit. They worked out Myles Murphy. They've worked out a lot of the top edge guys. It looks like they might not bring back Josh Allen, which is stupid, but I'm going to take Felix Anudike-Uzomah here and the false thing.
I like it. This next pick here, it took Zay Flowers at number 1 in the first round. Cody Mock is the easy pick here at 57.
Yeah. If you need some interior offensive line help for Danny Dimes, I agree. Ooh, okay. I think I know where I'm going to go with this. Receivers in play, but who do you go with? You go with Jonathan Mingo, Michael Wilson. Ooh, Mingo I like here a lot, actually. D-line, I don't love any of the interior guys. Corner, look at a DJ Turner. I think he could be a perfect slot corner with Gilmore and Diggs on the outside. I think Turner could be a really nice piece for him. I'm going to go DJ Turner here. Wow.
Certainly a surprise there. Okay. All right. I like it, though. I'm not going to lie. I definitely don't hate it. This is interesting here. You see who's left on the board here. I'm not totally in love with who's on the board in the interior of the offensive line. Kind of the same thing with the tackle position here. Wide receiver kind of speaks to me here. Cedric Tillman, Marvin Mims, these guys are still on the board. Jonathan Mingo is still on the board here. I don't really know where Buffalo goes. This is kind of tough for me. What I'm going to do here, especially with, Micah Hyde coming back, with Jordan Poyer signing on again, these guys are getting older. They're going to need to start bringing in some younger pieces on the back end of that defense here. If Antonio Johnson is still here, it pains me to say I'd take Antonio Johnson over Sidney Brown, but I think he fits what the Buffalo Bills are trying to do with their safeties a little bit better than Sidney Brown. So I'm going to take Antonio Johnson here, and I already know who your next pick is, so you don't even have to say it. It's going to be Sidney Brown, isn't it?
Well, I want to look at the board first, but that's where I'm leaning. I don't know. Zach Charbonnet here I like too. I don't hate the value, but it's a pretty deep running back class. I think you could get a good running back in round 3 at pick 92. I think corner's a huge need for him, but do I take Garrett Williams this high? No, you're right. It's Sidney Brown.
Yeah, it's I mean, I didn't want to sway you, but that just seems like a match made in heaven, if you ask me.
Yeah, and I know they brought in, was it Nick Scott, Dax Hill? Sidney Brown is fantastic. I'm going to take Sidney Brown there.
Yeah, definitely. And here for the Bears to pick number 61 here, I really am looking for a cornerback here. I don't know. I like the way the board is falling here for the most part. Trenton Simpson's really, really interesting to me. Zach Charbonnet is interesting too. It's tough, man. Ike, I don't want Seki Ike. I think I got to go with a wide receiver though, honestly. And I'm going to go with Jonathan Mingo here if he's still on the board.
Yeah, I like it. We talked about it. Mingo's going to go higher than people think.
Yeah,
I think Mingo's going to go in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles here, they've drafted really well so far.
Yeah.
You got Osiris Torrance, you got Jalen Carter. They traded both times, 1 up, 1 down. And let's look who's the top guys there. Foskey. I think I'm going to take Zach Charbonnet here. You need a running back. I think you lost Miles Sanders. I think running back makes a lot of sense. I just don't think Rashad Penny is going to stay healthy all season to be a number 1 back.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I do. This pick shouldn't really be too difficult here. I don't know why some people are so low on Isaiah Foskey here, but this is a guy who's been uber productive at the highest level of collegiate football. I'm going to have to go with Isaiah Foskey here. This makes just a lot of sense here. I think that's nice. You got the Notre Dame battery mates between George Karlaftis and Isaiah Foskey. I'm going to take him here at 63.
Didn't Karlaftis go to Purdue?
He did. I'm sorry. I was thinking. I saw gold, and I was like, "Yeah, Notre Dame, Purdue." You're right.
Ooh. So they took Jonathan Mingo just 3 picks ago. I mean, Trenton Simpson's interesting, but they brought in T.J. Edwards. They brought in Tremaine Edmonds. I don't love any of the interior guys here. I mean, Carl Brooks, but I think it's way too early for Brooks. Corner, I'm considering also there. Ooh, I might go. They brought in Nate Davis. This is a tough one for me. There's so many ways I think they could go here. I don't think they go tackle, D-line. I'm gonna go with Luke Whippler.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. What do you think they do with Lucas Patrick? Do you think they move him over, or do you think they? What do you think they do with that?
I have no idea.
I don't really know, to be honest with you, what they would do. That's interesting here. I think it's about time that I address the offensive line with the Houston Texans here. I'm looking at a couple of offensive tackles. I'm looking on the interior as well. I'm still not in love with really any of these guys at this point. It's so unfortunate that Andrew Voorhees tore his ACL because, man, he's a beast, and he was testing out so well at the Combine. I think out of the guys that are left here, I think I like Blake Freeland the most out of these top 3 guys here. Duncan kind of has just been falling. He's been in like free fall mode. Steen is pretty solid. I think it's still a little bit too early for him here. So I'm going to go with Blake Freeland here at 65.
I like that. I thought Trenton Simpson there made a little bit of sense too.
But don't
Christian Harris.
I was going to say they still have Christian Harris, so I'd wait.
Yeah, Arizona here. I hate this Arizona pick a lot. I don't think they go Trenton Simpson because they go linebacker every year, so they don't need one. I'm receiver and running back are the 2 positions I'm looking at. And I think I'm going to go with Cedric Tillman here.
Okay, that's nice. I like that. I like that pick a lot. It adds a little bit of size. Don't forget that their 3 wide receivers under contract are Marquise Hollywood Brown, Rondell Moore, and Greg Dortch, who are all like under 5'9". So you definitely need to add some size there. I like that pick a lot. Denver's first pick in this mock draft here at 67. I really think if Luke Weipler was still here, I would consider it. Edge, I'm not really in love. I kind of like Derek Hall here in the 3rd round here, but if Trenton Simpson is still on the board, I don't necessarily think linebacker is the biggest need for the Denver Broncos, but if he's still here at this point in the draft, I mean, it would make little sense to not take him.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm between 2 guys here, and I want your thoughts on who. Garrett Williams is the first guy. I think Garrett Williams, good size. Obviously, he's coming off the injury, but I think he would have been a top 50 pick had he stayed healthy. Denver, one of their top needs. And then you mentioned Derek Hall. I was looking at Byron Young. I think he could work really nicely on this Denver defense. So what are your thoughts on those 2?
Personally, for me, I would probably go corner here because they really do need another boundary corner opposite Pat Surtain. So, I mean, I would go, and that was also one of the picks I made in my mock draft for Denver, too. Garrett Williams was one of my picks. I think it makes a lot of sense. He's also a great run-defending cornerback, too. That's another big thing in the NFL nowadays. I would take Garrett Williams, but it's your pick.
I'm going to go with Garrett Williams.
All right. There we go. Beautiful. The Rams here again at pick number 69. Nice. Now, again, tough. Some really interesting picks here at the cornerback position. You got to look at the interior, the offensive line here, and they have a hole. I don't remember off the top of my head if it's at right guard or left guard, but they do have a hole. And Chandler Zavala is someone who's been rising up the ranks quite fast in mock drafts.
Yeah.
And for good reason. I mean, he's supremely athletic, 6'4", 325 pounds, and he's like, North Carolina State has very quietly been a breeding ground for really, really good offensive linemen the past few years. I'm going to take Zavala. I think the edge and interior offensive line are 2 of their biggest needs. I would have loved to take a cornerback here, but it's just not really the way that the board is falling.
Yeah, I like that one. Moving on, I think Derek Hall makes a lot of sense here for the Raiders. Obviously, you have Crosby, you have Jones. Jones is getting older and wasn't good last year. I'm going to take Derek Hall. He kind of fell into their laps here at 70.
Yeah, I like that. Derek Hall falling to 70 is crazy. Here, I'm not really sure what I like at this pick. The way that the board is falling, it's so interesting. We don't need a wide receiver, obviously. The interior of the offensive line is pretty good. I would say maybe later on that they would need a backup because their depth is pretty thin. Linebacker is pretty good too. I mean, it's kind of tough. I feel like you got to just kind of take best player available and call it a day. I mean, Clark Phillips here. Do they really need a nickel corner? I'm not really sure. I like Devin Achane a lot as well, but they already have Alvin Kamara. They brought in Jamal Williams too. I mean, I don't really know where to go. Laporta is interesting because Jawan Johnson. I like Laporta here too, and I think he goes higher on draft day. I like Laporta here. Adam Troutman really hasn't shown much since being drafted. Jawan Johnson was a nice story last year. I don't know if he's your tight end 1 for the entire year. Laporta offers just so much more. He's a really, really good vertical tight end as well. I think we're going to go Laporta here, add another offensive weapon.
Yeah, and we know Derek Carr has had good tight ends his entire NFL career. So
yeah.
I think you continue and get him another tight end. The Titans need wide receiver bad. I think that goes without saying. Man, I'm higher on Michael Wilson than the consensus. I think there's a real shot he goes in the 3rd round.
Okay.
But I think Marvin Mims is the best fit for the Titans. So I'm going to take Marvin Mims here. I think he works really well with Treylon Burks. Yeah,
I like that pick as well. That would be the pick. It was either that or Tyler Scott for me. I like Mims. I mean, Mims brings so much to the table because he's only 5'11", 185 pounds, but he could really start on the outside too. That's the thing. And he has sub 4.4 speed. I feel like he flew under the radar for a long time in the combine for sure. I mean, how many picks am I going to wind up making for the Houston Texans here? Tackle, linebacker, interior offensive line. I mean, are there any quarterbacks around that we could take here? No, I'm definitely not going to take a quarterback here. That would be crazy. Best player on the board, Clark Phillips is here. We already took a cornerback. Tucker Kraft. I think if Diane Henley is still on the board here, they do need some linebacking help. I'm not saying that they need a starter right away, but Henley is a beast, and he's a tackling machine. I think he would make a lot of sense here at 73.
Yep, that's the pick I was looking at. Then we got the Cleveland Browns. Yuck. I hate this pick. I really do. I just don't know where to go. I think I'm looking at edge because they will then bring back Clowney, and you really need someone on the opposite side of Myles Garrett. It's between Byron Young and Zach Harrison. I don't know. I feel like Byron Young works better as a edge in a 3-4 as like an outside linebacker type, and Zach Harrison works more on the line. I know Cleveland runs a 4-3, so I'm going to take Zach Harrison. I think he fits their scheme better.
Yeah, I like that. He's a tremendous. He's much more versed in stopping the run than he is rushing the passer, but that's also something that, with pro level coaching you could work on as well. I like that pick a lot, actually.
And you got Myles Garrett to help rush the passer, so I mean, you should be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean he's to be fair though, he's a much better run defender than he is a pass rusher. It's kind of funny how that works, but it's true. 75 here, we're winning big here. Edge at pick number 8. Cornerback here at pick number 44. Got some really great players here. I'm going to look at wide receiver and see what I could find here. Rashee Rice is nice. That rhymed. Rashee Rice is nice. Nathaniel Dell here. I'm looking at someone that could potentially start in the slot. I know Nathaniel Dell is here. Kind of scares me a little bit as a slot guy. I like Michael Wilson. I like Trey Palmer as well as someone who could slide into the third round. A.T. Perry is interesting. He brings a lot of size. I think I'm going to go with, even though I mentioned everyone other than this guy, I think I'm going to go with Tyler Scott. Good speed. He could play in the slot, 5'11", 180 pounds. He's really got that slot build. He's really good off the line as well. I'm going to take Tyler Scott at pick number 75.
Yeah, I like that. And I think we're going to go with a receiver again off the board here. To the Patriots, they brought in Juju. I mean, they still have Kendrick Bourne. They got, didn't they draft? They drafted the guy from Baylor. What's his name?
I remember Tyquan Thornton.
Tyquan Thornton. Yeah. I think they could use another boundary guy. And I don't think. I mean, I think some of these guys could play boundary other than Nathaniel Dell. I think A.T. Perry's a good option. I think Michael Wilson's a good option. And I'm going to take my guy, Michael Wilson, here to the
There you go. I was wondering when you were going to take him off the board.
Yeah.
I like that. I do. All right. Cornerback here, we're looking. All right. I like Eli Ricks here. I like Eli Ricks here a lot because Eli Ricks offers some really nice contrast to Jacoby Durant. While Durant is a little bit of the smaller, speedier version, you got Eli Ricks, who's bigger, not as fast, but he's more powerful. Clark Phillips, I don't really know if they need a slot guy right now. Darius Rush is interesting. He could fly as well. Hodges Tomlinson is another slot corner guy. I'm going to go with Eli Ricks here. They need a boundary cornerback.
All right. I like that one. Moving on to the Packers. Remember,
and don't forget that add Keon White into this too.
Yep, that's what I was getting at there. Ooh, I mean, their safety depth, it's bad. Like outside of oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm blanking on the name here. Outside of what is his name? My gosh.
Oh my goodness, Darnell Savage.
Yes, okay.
Jeez.
I'm blanking hard on the name. I think it's Quan Martin, though. I think I like his fit here.
Really? Over Jordan Battle? That's interesting here.
Yeah, I have to go with Quan Martin here.
Okay, I like that. I like that pick a lot. All right. Let's look at what the wide receiver business has got going on here for the Indianapolis Colts. I like Rashee Rice, but if Clark Phillips is still on the board, I feel like you got to be Clark Phillips, no?
Yeah. It does. I'm curious how that would work with Kenny Moore as our slot corner already, but
hey, you guys will figure it out.
No, we won't. We never do. Moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers at 80. I'm gonna go with. You know what? I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna take Carl Brooks at a Bowling Green. I think I
Really?
like him more than Dexter. I like him more than Ika. I think he could play a little on the edge. He could play on the interior of the defensive line. I like what Carl Brooks could bring to the Steelers. So I'm gonna take him here at 80.
Okay. I don't hate that. That's a nice outside the box pick that a lot of people don't make. The Detroit Lions are up yet again. Quarterback is not something that I'm interested in. Maybe a little defensive line here. I don't like Siaki Ike. I really don't. I'm super low on him as anything more than just a nose tackle in the NFL. He reminds me of like a less exciting version of Vita Vea. And I know Vita Vea is actually a great player, but I said less exciting. So if we're going for a little defensive line depth, I like Javon Dexter here. I like that as a maybe a backup to Aleem McNeil and Isaiah Buggs. You get Javon Dexter.
Yeah, I was looking at receiver there too because of the Jameson Williams stuff.
Yeah.
I get the receiver being in play, but Javon Dexter makes some sense there. I'm not gonna think too hard about this one. I'm gonna take Devon Achane to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They need a running back. Rashad White is fine. I don't think he's a number one. Devon Achane's electric, and I think he would be awesome for Tampa.
Yeah, I like that. I do like that. I'm not going to lie. This is going to be Emil Ekiyor for me. I think that they really need some interior offensive line help here. And Ekiyor is a guy who could play guard. He could play center as well. I think he starts right away at center for the Seattle Seahawks.
I like that. The Dolphins might just Tucker Kraft, and it's not even close. Like,
Yeah.
I've run that
Don't
guard.
even think about that one.
Yeah.
Don't even think about that. Here, I'm going to go a little bit. I want to go wide receiver, but let's see what the tight ends are still on the board. Zach Kuntz is someone I like. I really like Josh Wiley as someone who's been rocketing up the boards too. I think I'm going to hold because this is still a really good tight end class. There's still a lot of great players left on the board. You can even go down as far as Will Mallory and Payne Durham as guys who could probably be day one starters, which is crazy. I'm going to have to look at wide receiver here with the aging wide receiver group. I like A.T. Perry a lot here. He offers a lot of size. He could win downfield, but that's what you get in Mike Williams. Nathaniel Dell is someone that I'm interested in here too. It's tough, man. It's really tough.
He's such a smooth route runner. I mean,
He is.
He's electric. He's a lot of fun.
He really seems like a good long-term replacement for Keenan Allen. So I'm going to take Nathaniel Dell here at 85.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. Tank Dell's a lot of fun. The size does scare me, but man, he's electric.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go receiver here for the Ravens either. They got Odell. They got Nelson Aguilar. That's fine. They're not going to make too much noise there. I have to go with a corner, though. Their cornerback room is not very strong. I'm going to take Darius Rush here to them. I think another boundary corner. I mean, he fell right into their laps. It's perfect.
Yeah, I like that, definitely. It's really funny how this is working out because these are the two first picks that I made for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to take Hodges Tomlinson here as a nice slot cornerback option. I think that they're okay on the outside right now, especially after bringing in Byron Murphy. They need a slot corner bad, and Hodges Tomlinson might be the best slot corner besides for Clark Phillips. So I'm going to take him here at 87.
Yeah, I like that. This is another easy pick. I'm going to take Jalen Duncan here to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Could play that right tackle spot. I mean, we had him in the first round earlier on this year. I think Duncan's going to be a solid player. Could be your Jawan Taylor replacement. Get him in the third round. Take a shot.
Yeah, I like that. I'm definitely not going to Ototo for sure. Definitely not there.
What is I've seen some pretty big slander for Toto. So talk to me about that a little bit. Like,
I just think he's slow for the position. He kind of reminds me of what happened with Christian Harris last year. Harris was someone that was probably going to be, I thought he was going to be a first-round pick, back into the first-round pick, and he was just slow. And he actually had a really good rookie season too. But on tape, it was not good, and that's what I think it really hindered his draft stock. I don't really know who I like here. I like Jacorian Bennett, but I don't know if he's more of a slot guy. You know what? Just because of how good his combine was and how much he proved, I'm going to go with Jacorian Bennett here at 89. They need I think this is a really good fit, actually. So I'm going to take him here at 89.
I like that. For the Dallas Cowboys,
You have pissed off so many Dallas Cowboys fans. I'm just letting you know.
okay. Well, ooh. I'm thinking I'm going to go with the guard here. I think the guard positions. Where do I go? Defensive line.
I think you got to go defensive line here.
Yeah. If Ika's still on the board, as much as I don't love him, I think he just is a space eater in the middle, which is kind of what they need. So I'm going to take Siaka Ika here.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait to hear the Dallas Cowboys fans in the comment section. I'm so excited. It had nothing to do with you. I'm just saying it's because they're never satisfied. Here, this is
the same way.
This is a pretty easy pick for me here. If Tyler Steen's still on the board at 91, this is someone that could push Spencer Brown, not Noah Brown, Spencer Brown out of the right tackle position easily. I'm going to take Tyler Steen.
I think I'm going to go tackle here for the Bengals too. I know it might be a bit high. I'm going to take Wanya Morris here.
Yeah, I like that.
I think he makes a lot of sense. We talked about it earlier. They need tackle. I'm going to go with Wanya Morris.
Yeah. I think I'm going 3 for 3 with offensive pieces for the Carolina Panthers. But if Tyjae Spears is still on the board, I mean, come on. You gotta. I'm going Tyjae Spears here.
Shout out Tyjae Spears. Philadelphia Eagles here. Jordan Battle's still here to be a replacement for CJ Gardner-Johnson. Corner, I'm not going to go corner, I don't think. You lit up. Is it the Jordan Battle piece that lit you up? Yeah. I was thinking that. I also was thinking Byron Young potentially here also, but I think it's Jordan Battle.
Yeah, I think if he's still here, I think it's a no-brainer. I really do. I mean, yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're going to go wide receiver here for sure. Rashee Rice really interests me here. But I've been talking about A.T. Perry for God knows how many picks now. And Perry, I mean, he offers a nice contrast to what they have at the receiver position.
I think he would. Yeah, I mean.
I think I'm going to have to go A.T. Perry.
Yeah. I like that. I like A.T. Perry a lot. I like him more than I like Mingo.
Wow, that's a bold claim. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I like A.T. Perry quite a bit.
All right, I'm curious to see where you go here.
We've got the Arizona Cardinals. This roster has every hole imaginable.
Yep.
Pick a position, they need it, except quarterback, but they need it next year. Let's see. I mean, running back, I don't really want to go running back. I don't think that's a huge need. Interior defensive line, maybe Zach Pickens, maybe Moro Ojomo down the board a little bit, but I don't think I'm going to do. Maybe I do. Yeah, we're going to get crazy. I'm going to take Moro Ojomo.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I like getting crazy towards the back end of the third round here. I like it a lot. Hendon Hooker, Peter Skoronski here. I think it's about time that we address the cornerback position. Caillou Blue Kelly is the pick for me, for sure. He's the best.
Yeah.
I really like Cottrell Clark, but he's more of a nickel cornerback. Blue Kelly is the pick for me on the outside.
Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna go Rashee Rice here to the Browns. I know they brought in Elijah Moore. They have Donovan Peoples-Jones. Their receiver core were not good last year, though. Other than Cooper and Jones, you got more. I'm going to take Rashee Rice to just add to that receiver duo or trio.
I like it. At pick number 99, the first. Wow, see, the San Francisco 49ers got the next 3 picks out of the 4. I forgot about that. Safety is a big need here. Right tackle is a big need for them too. Really, the only 2 positions that I could see being the biggest needs. I'm not happy about what's left here at this point. Safety, a lot of nice players. I'm taking Jair Brown. Super, super productive. Great size, 5'11", 205 pounds. His speed was a little bit of concern. That's the only reason why I think he makes it this far, but he's a fantastic player overall.
Yeah, and I like Jair Brown quite a bit. I'm trying to see who is the Raiders starting center currently on the roster.
Jake
I
Brendel.
don't think it's good. Yeah, I don't think it's good.
No, Jake Brendel had a good year last year. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, man, this pick's tough. I was thinking of going with Oluwatimi, from Michigan.
Okay.
I know it's early, but I think he could be a nice piece. Your interior offensive line is not good, and I think he can play guard or center for you.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, we're gonna make that pick then. We're gonna take Oluwatimi.
Okay, I like it. Oh boy, I get the pleasure of having the 49ers in back-to-back picks. So I made my Jair Brown pick. Gosh, I really, really want to take a tackle, but I am just not happy with what's on the board right now.
If you ask Bleacher Report, though, Nick Saldiveri could sneak into round 1.
I would shoot myself if Nick Saldiveri came into the first round. Defensive line is not an issue. I could be looking at linebacker here because Oren Burks is slotted to be the starting outside linebacker with Azeez Al-Shire gone now. Not really excited about what's here. A couple players that actually, you know what? I take that back. A couple players that are still here that I think could service San Francisco route well. DeMarvion Overshawn is probably going to be my pick here. I think this makes a lot of sense. A little bit slender in his frame for 6'4", 225 pounds, but another guy that kind of fell down the board where I'm not really exactly sure why. So I'm going to take Overshawn here at pick number 101.
A lot of people really like Dorian Williams in this spot.
I love Dorian. I love Dorian Williams too, but kind of similar situation. There's a lot of small linebackers this year.
Yeah. Now we get the Niners again. Part of me wants to take Andrew Voorhees and just sit him for a year. Why not? I feel like if any team could do it, it's the Niners. They've already got a good offensive line. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Voorhees, sit him for a year, let him get healthy, and then you could have a dominant guard at the after this.
Yeah, I think I actually really like that. I never even considered that. Defensive line is something that I'm looking at here. Byron Young is interesting to me from Alabama. Jacqueline Roy is another one who fell off a absolute cliff during these pre-draft processes here. Zach Pickens is probably going to be the pick for me here, though. Super, super agile for his size, offers a lot in the middle of that defense. Is a good run stuffer as well. He's going to be the last pick of this mock draft.
I like it. I like it a lot. And yeah, I think that went pretty well.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was an absolute marathon, not a sprint. We made a couple really cool. We made a lot of trades. We made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trades, if I could correct. Probably 6. I can't read. It's okay. So, incredible job here, JWAC. I really appreciate you coming on. I can't wait for everyone to see this. I can't wait to see all the negative comments that we're going to get from this absolute marathon. I can't wait. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I can't wait to do it with you again.